Welcome back to Holland, Michigan. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel. This is Winter Storm Elliott. The Arctic front just came through here about 10 minutes ago. The temperature now at the lakefront has dropped from 36 to 29. It's going to go down into the low to the mid-teens. The wind has shifted to the northwest. It was southeast at 3. Now it's west-northwest or northwest, gusting as high as 30 miles an hour. It's going to get a lot windier as that storm bombs out. The pressure drops rapidly. The wind will increase dramatically overnight tonight. Tomorrow night, even into Saturday morning, wind gusts in excess of 50 miles an hour with heavy snow and blowing snow. There's a pretty good gust. Right now, the flakes are small, and they tend to be that way when you have the snow getting drier and drier. The first part of the snow was more of a... Now, you know what's happened? Because the temperatures dropped, what I was cleaning off earlier has frozen. So that's what's happening on the highways. That slush out there from the snow that fell between about 4 and 5:15, that has now frozen. So there's a lesson, because we're talking about a lot of flash freezes in the eastern part of the country, because you're going to get rain and then some slush, and then you're going to get that temperature drop rapidly like we just did from 36 to 29. So this is a great example of what's going to happen on the roadways, even if you don't get more than, say, a half an inch or an inch of snowfall. So be wary based on the timing of the cold front driving tomorrow, Friday, as you probably try to do some shopping or head out on the road for your holiday travel. Meanwhile, back here, we're going to be worried about the winds exceeding 50. That means the potential for some power outages. But, Chris, the blizzard warning goes all the way until Saturday evening. So we've got a long way to go on this side of the lake. Remember, we're downwind, so we get the lake effect. Chicago doesn't get the lake effect. So we're going to add up a foot or more, and that's going to be blowing and drifting around right on through Saturday, probably Saturday evening. Things will back off on Sunday as the wind backs off and the snow comes to an end. So we still have a long weekend ahead of us here on the west coast, as they say, the west coast of Michigan.
All right, meteorologist Mike Seidel, we appreciate that. We've been watching the temperatures tumble and the snow blow in Holland, Michigan. That's where we find meteorologist Mike Seidel. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Chris, good evening from Holland. The Arctic front came through here about 5:15, so about an hour or so ago. The winds have whipped up northwest now, gusting over 30 miles an hour, and the temperature's fallen from the mid-30s into the upper 20s. Now, the advantage we have here is we're downwind from the lake and not on the other side of the lake like Chicago. So our temperatures are not going to tumble, likely not even into the single numbers. So we get the kind of the balmy air, the cold air gets warmed up by the lake water temperatures generally in the upper 30s and low 40s. So that's a promising thing. On the negative side, we're going to get a whole lot more snow. Lake effect will kick in tonight right on through Saturday. The blizzard warning goes until, get this, 7 p.m. Saturday. That's 2 days from now. Not like the 5-day blizzard warning in Rapid City. That was incredible. But 2 days of wind and snow, and, you know, the bands will set up. Some of you may get more than a foot. Some of you may just get a foot. We'll see how that breaks out. Now, the winds will increase. Let me tell you why. The pressure is going to fall. You've heard on the media, bomb cyclone. What we mean by bomb cyclone is the pressure, by definition, has to drop 24 millibars in 24 hours. So get this. Right now, the pressure is 1,007 millibars with that low in southern Canada. 1,007. This time tomorrow, it's going to go from 1,007 to 968 millibars. You do the math here, that's 32 and 7. That's 39 millibars in 24 hours. That's incredible. So imagine a big hole in the atmosphere, and it's got to fill in. So as the hole gets deeper, the pressure gets lower, the air is going to rush in. So the wind is really going to howl. Boy, it's howling right now across the lake. The wind is really going to be a big problem, and that's going to be an issue even if you're not here in Michigan with the lake effect, but back east, down south, freezing temperatures all the way down to I-4, Orlando and Tampa. So we've got the snow adding up. We're going to have the wind, which could cause power outages, the blowing and drifting snow, and temperatures which will be moderately cold by Holland and Grand Rapids standards for this time of the year. So we'll take it and run with it. We'll be out here live throughout tomorrow into Saturday to show you the vivid pictures. Meanwhile, let's go to Louisville. Dave Malkoff there. Dave, you're on the other side of the front. Temperature's still in the mid-40s, but at any moment, we're going to see a big drop with that rain changing to snow. Welcome back to Holland, Michigan. I'm meteorologist Mike Seidel. It's all about Winter Storm Elliott and the cold air coming in. We had a flash freeze here, believe it or not. We were in the mid-30s, and when I was on the air around 5 Eastern, this is all slushy snow or wet snow. And then look what happened. It froze very quickly. The temperature went from the mid-30s down now into the mid-20s. This is exactly what's going to happen in many communities east of the Mississippi. As that cold front comes in, you'll have some rain on the front end, and then you may get some slushy snow as the temperature plummets, and then that's just going to freeze like a layer of plastic. So keep that in mind and just know about what time that front's going to come through, and then figure out when you don't want to be on the roadways, because that's going to be a real mess. Now, once the sun comes out tomorrow, that should take care of that narrow band of slush, frozen slush. But other than that, it's going to be pretty dicey. And then you're going to have to deal with the layers. Layer up, very cold air like it here in Michigan. Now, our obvious advantage is we're right off the lake. The lake water temps are around 40 or so. So we're not going to get below 10 degrees, which is a bargain considering how cold it's been in the Midwest so far. Temperatures have plummeted to the single numbers just northwest of Chicago. Cheyenne, Wyoming this morning, all-time record low of 42. So we're going to be moderated by the lake, but with the lake and the wind coming across the lake, not this lake, but Lake Michigan, we're going to get the lake effect snow. So a foot or more expected between now and Saturday. Winds gusting over 50 miles an hour as that storm pressure really bombs out or drops rapidly between now and tomorrow afternoon. The winds will really crank up, and if you tune in tomorrow, watch us out here, you'll notice a big difference with the wind and the blowing snow. Right now the snow is lightened up. In fact, we can see across the lake right now there's some ice on it and some snow that is accumulated on the ice, but not enough ice to skate because temperatures have not been steadily cold through the month of December. So Chris, everything you see here in some way, shape, or form is going to hit the entire country. Even down to Miami, we're forecasting temperatures down in the mid-40s later in the weekend. So nobody really escapes the cold with this one.
Yeah, meteorologist Mike Seidel, thanks so much. Let's go to meteorologist Mike Seidel, who joins us live from Holland, Michigan. Mike?
Hey, Chris, once again, the temperatures continue to fall here. We're down to 24. Now, we're not going to get the big rapid drop that we've seen in other areas of the country because we're downwind from Lake Michigan. The lake is basically unfrozen. The water temps right here in Holland are running 43 degrees. So that air mass comes all the way across from Milwaukee, from areas on the other side of the lakefront across here to what we call the west coast of Michigan. So our temperatures for the next few days may not even get below 10 degrees, which is a saving grace. But on the other hand, because the lakes are unfrozen and we have the relatively cold air over the relatively warm lakes, we're going to get lake effect to the tune of a foot or more, just depending on where those bands set up. It may be 15 inches here or 8 inches here, but that's going to continue to be a threat into Saturday, along with the winds ramping up. I mentioned earlier the pressure is going to bomb out. That's what we call a bomb cyclone. Right now it's running just above 1,000 millibars of mercury, but it's going to come down all the way, I should say millibars, down to about 968 millibars. That's a forecast. So 24 hours, 24 millibars, definition of a deepening or a bomb cyclone, and we're going to make that with no problem. So as the pressure drops, the wind will increase around the system, although the low is going to be in Canada. A big swirling wind across the lake areas creates the lake effect. The wind will blow and drift the snow around, and with temperatures in the teens, with this snow, it's very powdery. So again, as I've been mentioning, you can get ground blizzards. That was, by the way, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, that's verified a ground blizzard. In fact, all day they've had visibilities down to a quarter of a mile or less, and it hasn't snowed a flake. It's all being picked up and blown in literally from North Dakota through South Dakota to Sioux Falls. So that's the other concern, just very, very poor driving conditions from this point on, really, especially tomorrow night into Saturday, because of the combination of the wind and the blowing snow. The Arctic air is plunging south and east. Dave Malkoff's in Louisville. Dave, I just checked the temperature at the top of the hour, 42 with a west wind. So yeah, it's almost there, but not quite. We are back in Holland, Michigan. Lake effect will kick in tonight and continue into Saturday. We've got the blizzard warning because the combination of the snow, very powdery snow, and winds gusting in excess of 50 miles an hour. That combination, perfect prescription for near whiteouts or at least brief whiteouts when you get those gusty winds. And temperatures are tumbling, but the saving grace here, and one of the reasons I wanted to come here is because the wind's coming across Lake Michigan, and that will moderate this Arctic air mass. It'll be below zero in the suburbs and even in Chicago but here we don't have anything below 10 degrees over the next couple of days, simply because of the influence of the lake. It's open. There's very little ice. That helps the lake effect and also warms up the air mass. So the water temperature here I checked today was 43 degrees here in Holland. We've gusted about 35 miles an hour, but it's going to get windier overnight and into Friday and Friday night as that storm, as we call it, bombs out. The pressure drops rapidly, 30 millibars in the next day, and that certainly takes care of the definition of a bomb cyclone. And that combined with the snow, again, the visibility, the roads are going to be next to impossible to drive, especially I-196 down the lakeshore front and then inland 131. We'll likely have some power outages. We've seen them ramping up in Texas. We'll probably have some power outages here, but it won't be before Sunday that the wind calms down and the snow stops falling here on the west coast of Michigan. So a very cold night coming up tonight, colder than average, but once again, Chris, we're going to avoid the deep freeze. That's the saving grace of the lake and the relatively warm waters this time of the year. So not bad. 10, 15 degrees, we can handle that. The snowfall, they can handle that. This area averages 70 to 75 inches of snow per season, mainly because of their position next to Lake Michigan and the lake effect.
All right, meteorologist Mike Seidel, thanks so much.
First full day of winter, we've got this mean Arctic front, brutal cold, teeth-chattering weather heading all the way to the East Coast and down to Florida in the next 24-plus hours. Here in Holland, we'll be modified by the lake water temperature, so we don't even really get below 10. That's pretty much a bargain. We had temperatures this morning, Casper, Wyoming, set their all-time record low of 42 below. Wind chill was 60 below. Temperatures in Chicago heading below zero. It's been below zero in KC. It's just an incredible air mass. It may not set records for Christmas Day because of 1983 and 1989 in the eastern third of the country, but for many folks, it's the coldest it's been in quite a while. And the concern, for instance, in Texas, the power. What happens this time around? Remember what happened a couple of years ago? Already we've got more than several thousand customers, over 10,000 customers without power in Texas. The other side of the story here on the west coast of Michigan, as they call it, is the lake effect, because the lake is unfrozen. We've got the colder air over the warmer lake. That's not only keeping us milder, but it's also going to kick in the lake effect. And that will continue to fly right into Saturday morning. After that, things will tame down by Sunday, Christmas Day here. It'll be cold, less wind, and the sunshine will come out. But quite a front there, Chris Warren, coming through and changing the rain to snow, slush, then you get a flash freeze in many areas, certainly north of I-40 all the way into the northeast. But it'll be about this time tomorrow night before that cold air gets into Boston. So we still have another day of watching this front head east and really knock those temperatures back very quickly.
That's absolutely right, Mike. In fact, I want to go ahead and show you exactly what Mike was just talking about.